So today we're going to think about how we can use post-it notes to track our thinking as we read. And we're going to start with this grade 7 standard. And it says, by the end of grade 7, students can write several quotes to support ideas of what the text says explicitly, which means obviously, as well as inferences drawn from the text. And just a reminder that inferences are ideas that are not written down in the book, but that we guess are true from the information given to us. So, for example, if it says the teacher stormed into the room, slammed his books down on the desk and glared at the students, it doesn't say he's angry, but it's pretty obvious to us that he is. So we are using inference to guess that he's angry. It's also worth noting that this is a standard for the end of grade 7. So last year, what you were expected to do is maybe choose one quotation from the book, whereas now we're thinking about more evidence, because of course, the more evidence we have for something, the more we can prove our idea makes sense. So the book we're going to use today is Wonder by R.J. Palacio. If you haven't read it already, I suspect many of you have read it, whether in elementary school or last year. I really recommend it. It's a great book. And it's actually quite a short read as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to read through the first chapter, and then we're going to think about some words to describe the character, and then we're going to find some evidence to support those ideas. So here's the first chapter. Ordinary. I know I'm not an ordinary 10-year-old kid. I mean, sure, I do ordinary things. I eat ice cream, I ride my bike, I play ball, I have an Xbox. Stuff like that makes me ordinary, I guess. And I feel ordinary inside. But I know ordinary kids don't make other ordinary kids run away screaming in playgrounds. So now I'm wondering, why would they run away screaming? What does he do that makes them scream? I know ordinary kids don't get stared at wherever they go. Oh, he's getting stared at, so it must be something to do with his appearance that scares people. If I found a magic lamp and I could have one wish, I would wish that I had a normal face that no one ever noticed at all. So he must not have a normal face. I would wish that I could walk down the street without people seeing me and then doing that look away thing. Here's what I think. The only reason I'm not ordinary is that no one else sees me that way. But I'm kind of used to how I look by now. I know how to pretend I don't see the faces people make. We've all gotten pretty good at that sort of thing. Me, Mom, and Dad, Via. Actually, I take that back. Via's not so good at it. She can get really annoyed when people do something rude. Like, for instance, one time in the playground, some older kids made some noises. I don't even know what the noises were exactly because I didn't hear them myself. But Via heard and she just started yelling at the kids. That's the way she is. I'm not that way. That's interesting. So his big sister protects him and defends him and stands up for him. But he says that he's not that way. So he's the kind of person maybe that when people say things, he just stays quiet. Interesting. Via doesn't see me as ordinary. She says she does, but if I were ordinary, she wouldn't feel like she needs to protect me as much. And Mum and Dad don't see me as ordinary either. They see me as extraordinary. I think the only person in the world who realizes how ordinary I am is me. And that's interesting because somebody saying that they're ordinary might be them saying, I'm not that great. But actually, it seems like he's saying it in the way that being ordinary is great and he just wants to be ordinary. And I think it's interesting thinking about the relationship between him and Via, because Via feels like she's protecting him, but she's actually making him feel worse because when she acts like that, he feels like he's not the same as other people. She might be a bit devastated to hear that because it sounds like she really cares for him. My name is August, by the way. I won't describe what I look like. Whatever you're thinking, it's probably worse. That's interesting. So he has this self-awareness that the way he looks is really, really horrific and scary. And it's an interesting technique that the author uses because we can't see him because it's a book and it's written in words. It's not a comic. And therefore, our imagination starts trying to fill in, like, what could he possibly look like that's so bad? Anyway, so as I start to think about Augie as a character, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my list of character traits. I'm going to look through and just think, do any of these make sense to me, or can I think of any other ones? I'm going to take a moment, so we'll pause the video. So I've had a look through, and a word that pops out to me is mature, that Augie is mature. He's very self-aware. So I'm going to start writing on my Post-it. I'm going to start my Post-it with the book and the page number so that if it falls out, I'll be able to put it back where it belongs. So Augie seems mature to me. He is aware that he makes other kids, that kids are afraid of his appearance because they run away screaming. And he knows he looks extremely different because he gets stared at. So already I've used two pieces of evidence. I've woven them into my thinking to show that it's valid and it's logical. But I really need to get to this idea of him being mature. I think, he says, I think the only person in the world who realizes how ordinary I am is me. He is mature enough to realize that it is the way the world sees him that makes him different. Otherwise, he tells us, comma, open quotation marks, I feel ordinary. Full stop, inside. I think it's interesting that the author puts a full stop between ordinary and inside, because again, it shows Oggy's maturity and self-awareness that he knows he's not ordinary in how he looks on the outside, and he's emphasizing that it's on the inside that he's just like everybody else. So this is just an example of how you can start to track your thinking about a character or a theme or anything else in a book by using Post-it notes. And once you've completed your writing on the Post-it note, you can just move it over onto your page. And of course, when you want to reread that page, you can just simply lift it up and look. But that will give you a great method for tracking your thinking. So give it a go, see how it goes. Remember, this is a goal for the end of grade 7. So you can start working towards it. If now you can only find one quotation, that's okay. But we'll work towards finding several to support the same idea.